Hello everybody, and welcome back to All Under Control. We are still in our flashback, I think. This is still the flashback with, Thomas and Diego. Something like that. It's got a book. These people are gonna do some bowls. you know? That's what I'm expecting anyway. I guess we kind of already know. Because, Thomas didn't look too good in the other flashback. Are we in a flashback in a flashback? Actually, I think we are. Was this it? That's fine. That's fine. A few minutes later, he showed up in the bedroom, completely naked and already half hard. Yep, smiling and panting while Diego's eyes were glued to that book's pages. Diego then got up from the bed, placed the book on the shelf, and was ready to start their game. When he described what happened then, he was very specific to note how the bear seemed to move like a puppet. Like he was hovering, bloodshot eyes locked on a distant place. That immutable? A grin was his showing bright row of sharp teeth. Then he began. Every noise from the outside, be it traffic or neighbors, was snuffed out. Diego's maw opened only a sliver, and from the depths of his throat rose a dissonant chant. Thomas mentioned those damn whispers, somehow coming through between his words. They entered his ears like threads, wrapping tight knots on his brain, and made their spell take effect. The wolf suddenly couldn't move. He couldn't even turn his eyes away, yet there wasn't even a trace of fear. Why would there be? That loss of control was what he'd been wanting all along. The excitement was enough to drown all reason. On your knees, Diego said. Make sure to spread those legs for me, pupper. Just I can't take a language like that seriously, right? That's just me, though. I feel like as soon as you break out the word pupper, we now a comedy. I don't know if he really used that word. Thomas said it sounded like pupper. But also that it could have been puppet. Oh, well, you know. R's and T's are kind of hard. Anyway, when he heard the command, he said he didn't even feel it as his knees bent down to the floor tile. They played like that every day. Sometimes those trances were tests of endurance. Sometimes Diego only wanted to draw blood, just to see how far his control could reach. Multiple times he ordered the wolf to hold his breath until he lost consciousness. He compelled the wolf to pluck out his whiskers one by one. He ordered the wolf to claw his own skin, slowly and deeply, and then to masturbate using his own blood as lubricant. Each time he commanded him to words only. What is this? Wow, this sentence just completely got away from me. Each time he commanded him to, the words come out sharper. Persuasion was an art, and as such, he could only reach its pinnacle after extensive practice. Repetition is an executioner's, that's what that says, brimstone. 100 nights of practice, 100 scars of deep cuts, 1,000 more cups of blood. And Thomas could never protest. He couldn't give up his original desire to have his choices stripped away. They didn't even think of a safe word, and why would they? Somehow he was fine with that, even after he stopped feeling any sexual pleasure from their sessions. They would just continue, even if there was no specific reason for it. Thomas had become less of a person and more like a doll. I wish I could say it was something as straightforward as some emotional manipulation that kept Thomas going into that cycle of self-harm in order to please his boyfriend. Or maybe he was simply that desperate to pursue his darker urges. But you know by now, there was something more sinister going on. No, all this talk about whimpers coming from nowhere and our perception of space shifting around us wasn't just imagination. And if they actually were tricks of the mind, and we were all just hoping to find a supernatural explanation for the pent-up anxiety nurtured through years of lockdown, then we were all buying into that collective insanity. We were already prone to seeing ghosts, alright, but that was something else. And it all started, as Thomas pointed out, with that stupid book. One which Diego referred to as an obscure hypnosis guide, but looked more like some sort of exotic? Exotic? Is that how that's pronounced? Is that how that's spelled? I don't remember, guys. A text. Oh, wait, isn't that one of the gaudy gods from oh, what's that one like GameCube game, Eternal Darkness? Isn't that some of those? I'm probably just look, guys. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce those names. Look, it's fine. What do those names sound like to you? I would have found more of those, but when Diego saw me looking at those pages, he shouted at me to leave it alone and never open it again. Then he said I needed punishment, and I knew in my heart it would be a painful one. Oh God, I knew it would be. He shuddered and began to sob on the spot. He changed real bad. No, you need to believe me. Diego was never like that before he brought that damn thing home. He winced if I was even slightly hurt, and if I raised my voice just a bit, he would go on to apologize so much it would get annoying. He used to be gentle. Then, I don't know. I just don't know. I guess I pushed him too hard. I tried to remark that it was bullshit. He wasn't supposed to blame himself for any of that. But he dismissed whatever I had to say. Maybe. That's right. None of this is our fault. We all heard the whispers, after all. Hell, you must have heard them by now, right? I guess I'm just having a hard time accepting something else was involved, but at the same time, I can't completely deny it. It wasn't just me who was suffering. Waking up every morning with cuts all over my body, joints grinding, what is this word? Excruciatingly, is that what that is? Yeah. Whenever I moved them. And all those nightmares and night terrors every night. He was also paying the price. That grin on his face, his bloodshot eyes, like deep red orbs. And he got so thin, he didn't even look like a bear. Neither of us was our true selves anymore. Something had lodged itself into our heads, moving our bodies, guiding our desires. There was another me in my brain, but it wasn't me. It was a parasite feeding on me and my boyfriend, and neither of us could make it go away. It just kept going, day after day, week after week. Then, I think we both started to see things. The shadows on the walls warped more of the space around them, and they began to take form. They created eyes where they weren't supposed to be. And the whispers, fuck! I can still hear them, clear as day. Thomas stopped, gasping for air. We're almost done. After a while, the foundations were cracking, and there was one day when things finally started to crumble. He went on to describe what had happened the day he sent me that audio. That afternoon, Diego ordered him to take their bedroom like usual. Oh, welcome back to After the Edit, everyone. What else happened? Diego go down? I think Diego go down. Then Diego stopped. His entire body suddenly got stiff before unceremoniously collapsing on the floor. Thomas was free to move again, and there was nothing more to be done. He looked at the bear's body splayed onto the floor and knew he was dead. Then came the other realization. Thomas still could not blink. He turned from side to side and tried to pull his eyelids down, but something kept stopping him. He could not blink. Seconds passed, then minutes, then finally hours that felt like entire days. Maybe you don't get the full scope of the agony yet, but if you try to keep your eyes open for more than a minute, and you'll immediately feel the burning discomfort arise. In just the first hour, Thomas growled, thrashed, and clawed at his own face. He could not close his eyes. And wherever he looked, the shadows were there, with their mesmerizing chant. And now, there was another one among them, a large grinning bear standing in the corner, laughing at him as he rubbed his, okay. Diego was almost the ghost, was among the ghosts, okay. I wanted to scream, but that was also not something I could manage. At least, not yet. I had to call someone first. That's when I understood the urgency of his call. Diego had been dead for weeks, as I had previously assumed. When I realized he had died the actual day before I visited, I realized the putrid smell coming from the rest of the apartment. Thomas, we need to get you out of here. It's over. Whatever you two had, whatever influence he had on you. We can get you treatment. They can fix your eyes. No, Alex. You should get out if you know what's good for you. But you won't. Then he laughed, and something in that laugh manages to dig deep inside my heart. I immediately knew I was under his spell. My body was stuck to the chair. You can't do that, can you? I didn't answer. He slammed his paws on the table. Can you? And I damn near cried. I can't. That is right. You can't deny me. Nobody ever could. God, please, somebody help. Hark. Is that it? Okay, man. He slammed the paws on the table again, and I stopped cold. All my thoughts seemed to have funneled into him. You don't have a choice. Such is the nature. We were puppets, and our strings entangled the moment we stumbled upon the knowledge that we don't have control. We ate from the bread the devil had smashed. We drank from the goblet of rotten depths. Black and bitter, as it was to us all. And now, we share the truth. That we were never in control. The whispers around us grew louder, and for a moment I actually jumped in my seat. The shapes. I could actually see them moving in that dark apartment. In the corner of the living room, I could see a tall black bear staring straight at me. And, fuck. It was even more hideous than he had described. Like his shape was stretched into space he wasn't meant to inhabit. The shapes around us chanted in unison. Then Thomas sprung up quickly and came closer to me. His paws struggled to take off the sleeping mask. I see them! Even with this mask on, I see them! He threw the sleeping mask onto the floor, and I saw his eyes. Two blood-red rubies protruding from his skull, almost jumping out of their sockets, crying scarlet tears. He reached for the eye drops, but his paws trembled too much to hold it. It fell between his fingers, and he cried, I cannot close my eyes! It hurts! It hurts so much! At this point, I saw other people coming inside the room. Neither of us had locked the door. Thomas's neighbors, who up until that point hadn't realized the nightmare had been happening inside that apartment, stopped at the doorway to see a semi-naked wolf clawing his own face. Blood sprayed the walls, while the other tenants screamed in terror. I can see! His claws came closer to his eyes. Then, without hesitation, he thrusted them in with full force, burying his whole fingers inside. God, I still remember the squishing sound it made. He must have slid his fingers as far as they could possibly go. Hell, he wouldn't stop until he scooped his fucking brains out. Thomas moaned in agony. I can still see them! I can still see! I wanted to turn my head away, but something held it in place. And even as a whole minute passed, I could do nothing but watch. Some of the residents were running away from the scene, calling for help, while others were throwing up and fainting by the doorway. Then Thomas stopped, standing on a pool of his own blood, paws still trying to force their way into his skull. He turned around and ran face first into the glass screen that led to the balcony. There he goes. Okay. The sound of it shattering finally shook me out of my trance, and the last I saw of Thomas was him flinging his body over the railing, plummeting to the end of his suffering. Oh, end of story? End of thingy? Okay. It felt cold during Alex's final remarks. He didn't sound relieved at all, but rather the opposite. He was shaking, claws digging into his knuckles as he twitched his head to the side every few minutes. God, it was an awful tale. No wonder he had been so on edge all this time. That was last month. So soon! I was still in the chair when the police arrived. They found Diego's body in the bedroom. His cause of death, heart attack. And as for Thomas, well, it was obvious to all witnesses that it had been suicide. He had lost his lover, had evidence of self-harm all over his body, and the filth that was that apartment showed the signs of severe decline in his mental health. You can read all that in the news if you look it up. Mikami Apartments right now. They also didn't find any haunted book about hypnosis. And all this nonsense about ghosts and entities. I still don't rule out that it was all some kind of hallucination they both made out to continue their extreme way of exploring each other's kinks. But that's not what you think? He rubbed his eyes and sighed. Nope. And if you were there, you'd agree with me. I see. Look, I never would have guessed you'd witnessed something like that. That would have given me nightmares for days, too. Nightmares. Alex shook his head. We'll get those. We'll get there, all right. But we still have some ground to cover. Dude, you don't have to push yourself. I get it, I really do. It's not just about what I saw, or how the events struck me. They sure did, yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to recall them in such vivid detail. I'm talking about something else. And before you say it, they are not signs of PTSD. I don't even know if I could tell this to a therapist and not sound insane. But I'm telling you, fuck! I have to tell someone. I have to. I shrugged. I had already listened to the worst part of the story, hadn't I? Alright everyone, I'm gonna end the part here, so I do hope that you all have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys around!